Hello mystics, goths, and flower children alike. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Anitra. How y'all doing today? Alright, as you can see, I am not in my room today. Today we're going to be downstairs in the room that my family calls the drum room, because as you can see, I have my drums in here. So we're using this because the sketchbook that I'm using is pretty big and my desk is, a little too small. So that's why we're down here for the day. Haul video, I think like a couple weeks ago. I got a gigantic sketchbook. This one. This gigantic sketchbook. It has only one sketch in it. The sketch that it has in there is the sketch that I've done of the Mad Hatter. I will put a picture probably like right here. It's so big, I don't want to put it all into one video because that's going to be too big and it's going to be too long and I don't feel like editing that long video. So I'm going to split it up into 4 parts. Each part is a quadrant of the piece. So let's get started. Let's get on to the video. I'm going to first show you guys the materials that I use and then we're just gonna jump right on into it. So without further ado, let's do this. Wow! The materials for today are Ohuhu markers and my Prismacolor color pencils. After some erasing, I start off with my Ohuhu marker in the color R110 and go over the fabric on the Mad Hatter's hat. Afterwards, I use my color GY42, I think. It's kind of an olive color, which is really nice for the color of the Mad Hatter's hat. So I just kind of use that to go all around it. So I do the outline of the hat first, and then I kind of do this swooshing motion that's kind of like grass. So I guess I'll remember that for the time where I'm gonna color in some grass. Patch on the Mad Hatter's hat where all those colors are, I start off with a base of like a cool gray. It's cool gray 00, I guess. And I also use it for his face. I use that as a base for the little spot because I didn't know what colors to use, so that's basically it. And also it worked great on his face. Okay, so now we're stepping away from the face and we're starting in the background. I start with this like yellowish green and I go all over the background as like a base. Since it is the lightest color, I'd rather have a lighter base and then go from the dark and then use it like a color pencil for the dark shadows and then come into the middle. Now, this was an interesting color. I really liked it, but it was like crazy that it was everywhere. I wasn't expecting it to be that much. After a while, I got bored of using this marker. But it was necessary, so I'm like, whatever. That are going around the Mad Hatter's head, I used the color GY43. It was the darkest color that wasn't too dark to be like weird, but dark enough to where I was like, oh, okay, it's the same color green. I thought about using this color to overlap with the light green color that I used in the background, but then I was like, nah, I'll just use the color pencils, it makes more sense. So yeah, for the floaty hats in the back, I just used this color. It's a really nice color. So I was like, yeah, it works pretty well. Onto that flaming orange hair, we're using the color Y10. We're using it, we're just kind of putting it everywhere. I don't like how I did this. If I could redo it, I would have done each like hunk of hair in sections and then gone over with the colored pencils. But it was my first time doing something like this, so now I know for next time, right? Also, this orange was spot on and I love it. So yeah, it was really cool to see this on the page. Love it so much. Now we're taking a bunch of colored pencils and going over the hair. Now I use a bunch of colors for this part. I use a dark brown, a couple dark browns, and some oranges and some lighter oranges that are kind of like yellows, and I use white. I use the colors PC 918, PC 917, PC 1002, the white, and I used PC 1081 for that. And I used the white for his skin as well. For the shadows for his skin, I used the color PC 1068. It was a perfect shadow for his kind of pale but kind of warm skin. So it was really good because it wasn't too cold but it wasn't too warm. You know what I'm saying? We're not doing the eye part right now, but we're doing the kind of like eyeshadow that he has. This was really fun. It was a really nice kind of magenta tone, and I used the color PC 994. And then I used some darker browns to kind of emphasize that. Now, also with the hair, we're doing the strands now. So we're using the same color pencils that I used for his eyebrow on the hair. Now, for this section, it was really cool because I did it where I used the darkest color first and then went over with, I went from the darkest to the lightest. So I did the dark parts first and then at the very end, did the lightest parts to make it look like highlight. And you will see at some point where I go over it with a white colored pencil, and that is to add like booming highlights. So I loved it. I had a lot of fun doing this part. So now we're doing the backgrounds. For the background, I started with the lightest green, and that was PC 1004. And I just kind of put this all over the background. Now, if you looked at the picture, it's kind of like a gradient of dark green to light green, starting from the corners to the back of his head. So to do this, I started in the corners with the dark green. I started with PC 988 for the darkest green. And then I went from that one to PC 1097 to, as like a gradient out. For the actual point of the corner though, I used the color PC 947. Now that's not a green, it's kind of like a brown. But the reason I did that was kind of for that really dark, mysterious green that I didn't really have. Because the Mad Hatter is mysterious. So I just did that and it was really cool. And then to transition from the darker greens to the lighter greens, I used PC 989. That color was really helpful. But here's the problem. This part was very frustrating. And it was mainly because both lighter color greens, actually all the greens, wouldn't stop breaking. I don't know if I'm heavy-handed, but they wouldn't stop breaking. So it made it so frustrating. And I was like, ugh. So when it was done, I was like, thank you. I'm done. I'm glad. But yeah. Other than that, this paper was really cool. It was really weird with these pencils because you can't really see it on the camera. But when you look at it like head on, there's like lines in the paper. So it was weird to use with the colored pencils because I wasn't used to it. But it was also really cool because it gave this kind of, not stagnant, but kind of itchy and like scratchy texture that kind of went with the craziness of the Mad Hatter in a sense. So I actually really enjoyed it. I would totally use this paper again for any other art project. It was really cool. Now the Mad Hatter has this like little thing on the side of his head, and I don't really know what it's for, but it's got like feathers and like a gemstone in it. So I used some red, and I don't remember what color it is right now. I used some black for the giant gem. I used some gold. For the leafy bits, I used this really nice dark green to make it kind of, and I did like this kind of like swoosh technique to make it feather out real nice. And yeah, that's basically it for that part. Okay, so right here I am doing the hat. So I used gold for kind of like, you know, the golden engines. And then to make the hat a little bit darker, I used the color PC1097 for like a olivey green, but to make the green spots darker. As you can see on the little hats, I took a medium green and a light green to give it some shadows, shadows and highlights for the hats that are closer to the center of the piece. And for the little piece of fabric on the top of his head, I used the colors PC994, PC934, and a bunch of other purples and stuff. I also used white. One of the colors I used there that I really liked was PC1095. That's that really dark purple color that you see. It's really gorgeous. I loved using it. Now we're on to the hat. We're at the last stretch of the video, basically. We're on to the hat. So for the hat part, I used a lot of different pinks. One of the pinks that I used was, for the base tone, I used PC1013. And that's just a nice kind of, you know, base tone, base color to match the pink that I used in the marker form. Then I used PC1018 as kind of a mid-tone between the lighter pink and the other pink. The darker pink that I used was PC1017. Now that was nice for sort of like a dark transition color, because I also on the outside used like I think I used a dark purple, so I probably used PC, actually no, not dark purple, sorry. I used PC947 again. That pencil came in clutch. I also used, I went back to PC1081 for a darker, you know, just for that darker outside. I also used the white for the highlights, you know, just to keep that feeling going and, you know, get the shine on, This was really fun. I liked making it actually look like fabric. It was really fun to do. I've never done that before, so I hope I get to do it again in a future video. That white colored pencil to make a little bit more highlights in the fabric, you know, just to make it look realistic. The picture is basically about done. Okay, and that's the end of this video. I love how this turned out. It's very different because I'm not used to this paper, and I didn't think that the markers or color pencils would work on it at all. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and I'm very excited to see how the rest of this piece is gonna turn out. It's been a while since I tried a semi-realistic piece, so it's cool to dive back into that again. So yeah, you know, that's gonna be the end of this video. And you know, eat good food, drink good drink, get enough sleep. Know that there are people out there that love you, and I am one of them. I do too. Don't forget to like, you know, comment, subscribe, hit the little notification bell so that you know when I post a video, because it's random and sporadic. So please hit that notification bell so you know when I'm actually here again. And to our mystics, goths, and flower children alike, that's gonna be the end of this video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye! Mwah!